filtered and chosen by a process out of our control. And so some people have called this an algorithmicization, but I think that's a very difficult word. But it's about the logic of computing changing. So some of it is about automation in the sense that some processes are human and they're being replaced, but other parts of it are not. Other parts of it are about the computer doing things that no human could have done. And there is no particular person put out of work by the new informational process. But nonetheless, it's a dramatic change. So the best word I have for this is algorithm studies. Some people have called it algorithmic culture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it is, I suppose that it is some language difference probably or something, because when I think about these processes in Russian, it is usually more about its some power who makes people use automation or machines or internet or something. Asian is about this thing. Then there is a government or something who makes you do it. I mean, who says we should make, or probably this is some Russian specific of development. But I suppose that it is just. I mean, in every country there are different powers. Somewhere it is corporations, somewhere government takes part, a big part, and so on. But you speak about it like rather, let's say, not natural, of course, but I mean, you speak about the process as it goes, right? I mean, not about the power structure, or it is also a part of your interest.
Oh no, it's absolutely about power. I mean, the transformation of our information systems to include filtering and curation is a story not about the development of technology, but about the way that technology is sold and packaged to seem as though it's helpful, when in fact what's actually happening is an entrenchment of, say, in the examples I just gave, private corporate interest. So for example, people who use social media often think about the like or the heart or the star as an interesting function that was added to these systems, probably because people would like it. So they think of it as a neat button that probably corporations added because people would enjoy signaling that they like something. But when we look at the history of these features, we see that in Facebook's example, they're probably best known for the like in the countries where Facebook is the dominant social media platform. They're best known for the like, and their headquarters, actually, the sign in front of their headquarters building is just a giant thumbs up. It's the giant Facebook thumb. And so this like, where did it come from? They were looking at the list of status updates that they were showing to people on their homepage, and they thought, people are getting so many friends on Facebook. The average number of friends is increasing so much. We need some way to filter this. And they describe this as being for the benefit of the user, and it may be for the benefit of the user, but they also needed a way to control and insert advertising into the stream of status updates. And so the like button was invented not because they thought it would be fun for people to signal to each other, but that they needed as a corporation, a source of data that would help them prioritize. And so they added the like so that the people could train the machine. And then why do they now think that the sorting of this information is their key reason for existing, their key driver of their value as a company? So all of these companies, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Google, they think of the algorithm as the center of what they do, and it's secret, and it's their core. And yet when we do studies of users, so a colleague of mine and I have done these studies of users and how they use feeds, and we found that there's not the majority, but there's a noticeable minority of people who prefer having a randomly generated feed. So if you show them the best possible curated, filtered set of information, they don't like it as much as if you just use a random number to show, because they like serendipity or they like curiosity or something like this. So why, if you can satisfy at least some people with no curation and no filtering, why do you need this elaborate apparatus that sorts and filters and curates and selects? I mean, the reason is control, is power, to insert advertising, and also to be sure that you as a company, your company has a role in the transmission of information that isn't just passing it along. It's to add a logic where you have a say. So for instance, on these platforms like Facebook and all the ones that, many of them still have features, although they're increasingly disappearing, many of them still have features where you can turn off algorithmic control. So in Facebook, you can click most recent news feed instead of top stories news feed, and it changes the sort to show the way it used to be. A few platforms still have this ability. Twitter has a button that you can press that changes it from your personalized trends to the trends everyone would see if they weren't looking at personalized trends. And it's interesting, the language used in the user interface, because the language is, don't press this button. The language for Facebook is, warning, you shouldn't switch away from our curated feed because you won't be getting as good service and it will be bad for you. And I've been told that I told my students to change their newsfeed to most recent as an experiment, and they tell me that if they leave it that way for a while, it automatically changes it back. So the setting is automatically reversed to top stories, and that's because the insertion of a point where the platforms have influence is essential to the corporations. So it's not a story of a neutral technology that happens to evolve that we get better at filtering or better at curating. It's instead a capitalist logic where the corporation needs a way to insert itself into the stream of information, in part to monetize you. I mean, it needs to sell your data, and to do that, it needs to better profile you, and it needs a mechanism by which it can insert advertisements in between your organically occurring communications as clearly as possible. I mean, it's not as clearly as seamlessly as possible, I guess.
It is very interesting. I was listening to you and thinking whether it is more about infrastructure or about platform, and well, probably the answer is that it is both. Mm-hmm. But probably it is the answer to the first question, where I asked what is the difference between them, because there are some elements of what you have named as infrastructure included here, and also the platform. Yeah, it's a great case to describe it. But
yeah, so I think the key thing for me is that infrastructure studies for me is a method. So this question, what does it depend on? And these companies depend on harvesting your information. And even in the example I just gave, they need the like button, because the like button helps them separate information for filtering. So it's a matter of what depends on what. So this is what I find valuable about that approach. And it helps me understand the evolution of the system. So in Facebook, to continue with Facebook as an example, they've added a system where you can express a mood and tag a status update with a mood. So you can say, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling sad. And this is an emoji, but it's not an emoji that appears inside the status update. It is like a tag that appears outside the status update, like a button. And again, I think people see this as maybe Facebook trying to be cute or funny, or providing some other button to click on because it's fun. But it's purely explained by the fact that the current state of emotion detection in text by machines is not that good. And so we will greatly improve Facebook's ability to detect emotion if we tag some posts with emotions, because then Facebook